Project Zomboid is an open-world, isometric survival game developed and initially released by the Indie Stone in 2011 as a tech demo. This game is an almost perfect example of what a good open-world zombie game should be like. Think of it as a Sims game set in the middle of a zombie apocalypse. The game is set in the heavily infected Louisville metropolitan area, in the towns of Muldraugh and West Point. The objective of the game is to survive and avoid infection for as long as possible, using multiple tactics, such as looting, farming, crafting, and even resting. No, seriously, there's an option in the game that lets players keep an eye on their character's mental well-being and health. Zelter is a 2D zombie game that was developed by G1 Playground and was released in 2020. Do not be fooled by its cutesy art. Zelter is as hardcore as zombie games go. The main objective of the game is to navigate through a zombie-infested town and get rid of enemy mobs along the way, but also scavenge around to find resources when required. It's a survival game that centers a lot more on crafting than fighting. All in all, it's a fun little adventure with just the right amount of intensity that will keep the player immersed without demanding too much energy. Plants vs. Zombies is an iconic zombie game developed by PopCap Games and released in 2009. It quickly became a hit and led to the creation of a franchise with multiple installments. Despite the sequels, the original game remains the best. In this tower defense game, players protect their home from a zombie invasion by strategically placing plants with various abilities to stop the zombies. While the premise is simple, the game's details and intricacies make it comparable to the best tower defense games in the industry. Plants vs. Zombies is available on all platforms, but is primarily played on mobile devices. The first 3 installments of the popular Con Artist Studio franchise, The Last Stand, are fully 2D. Available on Steam as a legacy bundle, all 3 games revolve around the central theme of surviving a zombie outbreak. Nevertheless, it's the original game that laid the foundation for the franchise and remains the best entry. The Last Stand follows a man known as Jack, seemingly a lone survivor of a zombie apocalypse, who is barricaded in his sturdy bunker with all the survival essentials. The player's job as Jack is to look for weapons to fend off zombies, rally any remaining survivors, and rebuild the constantly declining stronghold they're residing in. They Are Billions is a steampunk-themed real-time strategy game that was developed and initially released in 2017 on Steam Early Access. A full version was released by Numantian Games in 2019. It's a 2D game that has super detailed sprites that make it look almost 3D. The gameplay centers around survival and strategy. Players are required to create a base and tactfully protect it from massive groups of zombies. And like every multifaceted real-time strategy game, they have to simultaneously focus on managing resources such as gold, stone food, and wood. It's like a whole Age of Empires game set in a zombie apocalypse. Deadbolt is a 2D stealth action game that was developed and released by Hapu Games in 2016. Although the game isn't explicitly categorized as a zombie game, it has major zombie elements in it in addition to almost every other undead mob that exists. Deadbolt is centered around a grim reaper who has to put a stop to an undead uprising. The player takes control of the Reaper and navigates him around the map across 3 different sets of levels. Each set of levels has its own undead mob that the Reaper has to shoot with a tiny gun. Assassinating enemy mobs and completing a level awards players with souls as the game's primary currency, which they can trade for better arsenal and skill sets. For a situation as deadly as, well, a zombie outbreak, Charlie Murder's take is surprisingly funny and refreshing. Charlie Murder is a punk rock-themed beat-em-up game that was developed and released by Ska Studios in 2013 for Xbox 360 and later for other platforms in 2017. The premise of the game is so absurd that it practically promises a good time. Players get to select one of the 5 main characters to compete with a number of enemy mobs that have been unleashed on the world by Charlie's nemesis, punk rock band, Gore Quaffer. Players get to fight against zombies, rats, witches, ninjas, and sharks. Rebuild 3 Gangs of Deadsville is a sim strategy game that was developed and released in 2015 by Northway Games as the 3rd installment of a trilogy. Compared to its 2 prequels, Rebuild 3 has considerably improved graphics, more diverse storylines, and a bigger overall map. And good news for the mobile gamers out there, it has a mobile version too. The game itself is a typical strategy game that involves building a base, scavenging for resources, managing workers, and defending the base from intruders. Cataclysm: Dark Days Ahead is a free, open-source, roguelike survival game that debuted almost a decade ago, in 2013. Later on, in 2023, developers released a stable version of it. Despite its simple appearance, it features complex mechanics and an infinite, randomly generated world. The game has a steep learning curve, incorporating detailed elements like drug addiction and mutation effects. Players start by creating a character with a chosen profession, each providing unique skills and traits for survival. With no specific end goal, players can hunt, craft, build, farm, explore, and fight zombies as they wish. Casualness and cuteness are a recurring theme in a lot of mobile games, regardless of what premise they offer to their players. Zombie Guard is a zombie survival game available on Google Play Store that negates all the intensity of its storyline with its adorable visuals and surprisingly intense gameplay. It's a cartoony, arcade-esque game that offers players quite a challenge with its wide range of weapons and upgrades, as well as a collection of different zombie characters, each with distinct quirks to battle against. With the coins obtained from killing zombie hordes, players can buy stronger, more overpowered weapons, and as a result, eradicate a larger number of zombies.